Finally, Chapter 1 of the Heaven Saga of Knights of the Zodiac is being released in Japan. Spoilers have already been released, summarizing what happens in this first chapter. And with that, many possibilities have opened up for what will happen from here on out. However, the most important thing is how Seiya recovered his memories, which were erased by Apollo in the Next Dimension Saga. Hello, Knights and Amazons. How are you all doing? Welcome to another video on the channel. Sempre Quiz Saber, I'm Wes, and today we're going to analyze what's happening. At the beginning of the long-awaited Heaven Saga, let's understand how the lost memories of Pegasus Seiya can return. And what does the appearance of shadowy figures in the underworld have to do with the awakening of our eternal Knight of Hope? So, go ahead and comment what your expectations are. And of course, click like, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and let's get into this awesome video. Music. As we know, the story of this saga begins with a bleak scenario. Saori Kido, the reincarnation of the goddess Athena, is descending the sanctuary stairs. However, something is wrong. Saori feels that her memories are fading again. It's as if a divine mist is erasing who she is. Meanwhile, in what remains of purgatory, a sinister figure appears. The goddess Ker. She is a servant of Hades and the sister of the twin gods Thanatos and Hypnos. The goddess Ker is the deity of violent death and cruel fate. She is a natural strategist who has acted in the shadows for many years, and she is also responsible for placing the evil spirit, Lemuri, in the body of Gemini Saga when he was still a baby. Upon finding the surplus of the earthly star of the dog, Ker accomplishes an impressive feat. She resurrects Jean of Urtros. Jean is a specter, one of the 108 warriors of Hades who wear the surplice. Ker's mission was perfect. She had planned everything so that Hades would win the last holy war and then fell asleep, waiting for the triumph. When she woke up, Ker was absolutely shocked. She explains to Jean that Hades' army not only lost, but was annihilated. The underworld and the Elysium completely disappeared after Hades was defeated by Seiya and his friends. In the series mythology, the underworld relies on Hades' existence. When the real body of the underworld emperor dies, the dimensional structure he created collapses. Ker states that it will take at least 1,000 years for the underworld to recover. However, she notices a loophole in fate. Athena has disappeared, and without the presence of the goddess of wisdom. On Earth, the protective seal weakens, allowing Hades' army to begin rising from the ashes. And this is where the story returns to Earth, where a chance encounter will change the course of history. Now let's get to the main point. On Earth, we find Seiya seemingly living an ordinary life, far from bloody battles and the burden of armor. He approaches Saori to return a hat she lost. It's an almost poetic scene, but it hides a deep secret. The theory gaining traction among fans is that Seiya regains his memories exactly at the moment he returns the hat to Saori. But why would this happen? The punishment imposed by Apollo, the sun god and Athena's brother, was the erasure of memories and the breaking of the bonds that united humans. Bronze saints, the goddess Athena. Apollo is one of the 12 Olympian gods, son of Zeus, and he represents order and severe punishment against those who defy Olympus. The theory suggests that the physical contact, which was mediated by the hat and the touch of their hands, creates a resonance of Cosmo between Saori and Seiya. When their hands touch the bond, forged through eras of reincarnations, remember that the Pegasus Saint has always been by Athena's side since the mythological era. It is stronger than Apollo's mental reset. The curse is broken by the power of Cosmo, which creates a bond between the two, allowing the essence of the soul to overcome the laws of forgetfulness. Seiya remembers all the battles. Saori also fully regains her divine consciousness. But unfortunately, the joy of the reunion is short-lived. The breaking of the curse is immediately detected on Olympus. As we know, the sun god was already watching over the awakening of his sister Athena. Then, Apollo, with his solar magnificence, descends from the heavens. In the hierarchy of Saint Seiya, Apollo is presented as a being of immeasurable power, whose mere presence is capable of incinerating the spirit of lesser warriors. Seiya, acting purely out of instinct and love, tries to face the god. But there's a problem. He's without his armor. Besides that, his Cosmo is fluctuating violently. For a knight, Cosmo is the source of all power. But after the trauma of the battle against Hades and Apollo's curse, Seiya's energy is as unstable as a flame in the wind. Apollo doesn't see Seiya as a real threat at the moment, but rather as an insolent one. He subdues Pegasus and makes a drastic decision. Athena must be judged. He takes Saori to Olympus to appear before the Council of the Gods led by Zeus. This event is crucial because it puts Athena in the position of a defendant. She is accused of treason for allowing mortals to raise their hands against the gods. The trial in Olympus is the starting point for the final conflict between humanity and the Greek pantheon, fallen and wounded. But with the memory of who he is, Seiya realizes that he cannot win this war alone. He understands that the era of peace was only an interval, and that the world is in danger once again. With the resurgence of Ker's influence and the fury of Athena and Apollo, Seiya decides that his first step must be to find Shun of Andromeda. Shun is the bronze saint, known for his purity of heart. He was the host of Hades during the last war, which gives him a spiritual sensitivity and a vast Cosmo. Although he prefers nonviolence, his chains are famous for their automatic defense and attacks. And, as we know, Shun is also living in Greece, more precisely on the outskirts of the sanctuary. He has a normal life, working as a flower vendor. After managing to awaken Shun's memories, Seiya will probably go straight to Olympus, believing that Shiryu, Hyoka, and Ikki will also awaken their memories somehow, so he can help them in battle later. Therefore, the Heaven Saga shows us that love and human connection are the only forces capable of challenging the determinism of the gods. The fact that Seiya regains his memory through an everyday object and Saori's touch reinforces the central message of Masami Kurumada's work. Cosmo is not just a destructive power, but the energy of life and the bonds we create. The resurrection of Hades' army by Ker, while Athena is being judged on Olympus, creates a scenario of war on two fronts. Seiya and his brothers will have to fight on Earth against the emerging specters, and at the same time, ascend to the heavens to rescue their goddess. And the fact that Saori loses her memory is a narrative device that reflects her sacrifice throughout the entire series. She has been giving up her life as a goddess to live as a human. But in the Heaven Saga, this becomes her greatest vulnerability. Divine amnesia is a form of isolation. Seiya, on the other hand, has always been the hope. Even when his body was struck by Hades' sword, his soul was searching for a way to return. The hat scene is a symbol of simplicity. While the gods worry about thrones and judgments, Seiya cares about a gesture of affection. It is this humanity that Apollo cannot understand, and that's why he couldn't erase it completely. She's not just divine, she's human too. It suggests that the forces of evil are never completely eliminated. They just change form and wait for the negligence of the gods. Giant Urtros, being his first pawn, shows that the new war will not be just against Olympus, but also against the remnants of past wars who seek revenge. So, what did you think of this theory? Does it make sense to you? She is a human goddess. I really want to know each of your opinions. From all indications, the Heaven Saga promises to be the most epic of all, combining classical mythology, human drama, and the battles that defined generations. And of course, thank you for watching this video until the end, and see you next time. Burn your Cosmo to infinity.